breaking hours have passed as Gehena walks out onto the streets of Elder Watch. She looks up and down, no idea where to go. The only thing that she spots coming out of the inn is a group of men who she doesn't really know, but they look over at their shoulders and they make eye contact. They seem to recognize her. She turns her hood, starts to walk in the other direction. Quietly, under her breath, she speaks. Abba, you have taken away my husband, you have taken away my home, you have taken away my people. But you remain, so I will remain. But I can't do this alone. Please, help me. As a devotant, she makes her prayer to the Iron God of Virtue. But as her words go up, it feels like her thoughts stay below, and silence is all she feels. This Ironland God is strange to her. He moves in mysterious ways, but things are getting desperate. No one is helping. The innkeeper's not helping. Naomi's, her mother-in-law, is not helping. And now she's getting nothing from the divine. What hope is there? G'day, my name is Evan. This is just Ironsworn. I'm playing with the free rule set. It's just a quick little game just to refresh my head. This is the first of these sort of videos I've made in my new place. We've recently moved house and I'm still setting things up and figuring out what works. So please excuse the ramshackle nature of all this. I don't have my dice cam, so I apologise for that. I'll just be honest, basically. I did get a failure on that last one, which I really wanted, but never mind. But yes, hopefully I'll get more set up. Also, there is the the big dry Ironsworn detective game, which I haven't forgotten. It will be happening. I'm thinking once I get my garage set up with some nice little chairs and tables and stuff in there, I'll finish that up. But for now, let us continue with the adventure of Gehena. She is desperately just trying to find a new home. She has lost everything. All she's got is this bitter old mother-in-law that she's got to look after. And she's got to try and figure out a way of getting enough money to pay the innkeeper by the end of the week. So that's where we're at. So it's a Thursday in a market town. That's basically what Elder's Watch is. It's like a market town where traders and farmers can all come to this spot and trade in and out into the rest of the Ironlands. So basically what I'm going to do is look around and see if I can see groups of people with livestock heading towards some sort of market. Remember, Elder Watch is like a small village town thing. It's not built up. We're talking very rural, very sort of Anglo-Saxon, Celtic, that type of feel. So can we see people heading off to the market? I think it's pretty likely. Surely we can see some people. No, surprisingly, as we come out on the street, it's pretty quiet. It's pretty empty. There's not too much around. It is getting to that time of day where you'd expect to see activity of market traders going back and forwards. But they're not trading today. Why is that? If they're not trading, and there doesn't seem to be any signs of imminent attack or anything like that, is it a holy day? Maybe that's what's going on. I did say there was a religious building that could be seen at a distance. Unable to see a large amount of activity going back and forwards. Maybe a few people at their doors just dumping out last night's leftovers. But no one going to like a market in a big group. Maybe they're all meeting at their local religious site, some sort of church, temple, that kind of thing. So basically, Gehena just scans the horizon. She finds herself like a little knoll nearby, like something that she maybe stand and have a look around on. And she's looking for that steeple. We said there was one. So she spots it and she starts heading in that direction. So she makes her way around some of the houses and little workshops, and maybe there's not so much activity going on in there. Not silent, but not much going on. Certainly not business open as usual. She comes around back towards the sort of where the inn is. I'm picturing like kind of a bit of a crossroads going on where the inn is. And she looks up the sort of road jutting out from that little T intersection sort of thing. And she can see this religious building she sort of saw the outline of the previous day. So she starts making her way towards that. What's that building like? Location descriptor. As she approaches this building, she sees that it is cut from stone. Unlike many of the other houses here, oh no, they got stone sort of around the mason work, but the majority of the building is like thatched roof, maybe wall and daub. Anyway, as she approaches this religious building, it is like cut stone. It is well angled off. And as she gets closer, she looks and she sees that they're these small windows. They're not the big stained glass windows of sort of high fantasy late medieval ages, but little windows. But she can see that they're made from like a nice metal. Maybe not gold, but just sort of nice brass that's nice and shined up. It looks really nice. There's like a garden planted around it, and there's not usually gardens in these places. The door is well maintained. Basically, it looks rich. It looks like it's a well-financed, well-maintained building. And I suppose that's not overly surprising considering this is a merchant town. Maybe inside there's some sort of system going which sees spiritual support for traders, and so therefore traders are going to go there and invest in this little church. As she enters, is everything underway? Is there a service currently being conducted? And that explains where all these people are. Likely? Yeah, so there is indeed a service going on. Are the doors open? 50-50. The doors are indeed open, and as she approaches, she hears, I'm thinking, singing. There's no like big organ or anything like that going on here. It's singing. I think there's a good bit of like choral chanting, deep-throated sort of Eastern Orthodox sounding stuff. But there's also the sound of people in the pews also chanting along with this sort of little hymn type thing. So she enters, approaches the door, she's a bit hesitant. Gehena's never been to a building like this before. She's a devoted of Abba, and Abba's an Ironlands god. But that's been a practice that she has developed in the wild with her Ironlander family. And now this is the first settlement of humans, of Ironlanders that she's seen out of this many people. She's an elf, by the way, in case you don't realise that already. And now she's approaching this building, and this is a type of belief and religion that she has not really encountered before. So she carefully and hesitantly approaches the door, or something I would. So she enters in, I think, very hesitantly. She looks for basically a seat at the back. Maybe she sees one, maybe she doesn't. I'm going to roll a sojourn, and I'm not going to do all the positive outcomes, but basically, depending on how strong the hit is, will be if she draws attention or not. So it is heart, no connection here, so just +2. So it's a weak hit. She managed to get inside the building, no chairs, clearly everyone has got their seat. Is everyone in the town here? I'm going to say basically almost certain. Yeah, so everyone's here. They're all sitting down, they're all in their seats because everyone's got their own seat. And she sort of just sits, moves towards the back and tries not to get noticed. Does she get noticed? Whilst it normally be likely, it sounds like the ceremony is underway, so everyone's attention is towards the front. Again, I'm kind of drawing on sort of medieval Christianity here, so we'll push in and explore maybe a bit more about this group, their religion, if it is more sort of like a polytheistic. I'm thinking polytheistic, but like whether it's got a bit more sort of pagan elements in there, we'll figure that out. But for now, I'm going to assume that everyone's attention is up the front. So does anyone notice her? 50-50. No. No one notices her. She just sits. She watches this service. What's this service like? I'm going to use character descriptor in order to try and figure out, like, as she's watching this, what is she able to observe and understand from this religious thing going on in front of her? Okay. Okay, so I've got 91. Character goal, so the goal of the service, what is it? As she watches, I've got 14 by the way. As she watches this service, it seems pretty strange to her, fairly alien, but she very quickly begins to recognize things that are familiar from her own elf heritage. She recognizes the individuals who seem to be the arbitrator between the people and the divine, like the priests, like the old sort of shaman priests back in her own village, priests and priestesses. And so she recognised that person because they're the one that their dress, the way they're dressed, looks strange compared to everybody else, basically. She sees that there's sort of sacred spaces compared to where everyone else is sitting, so she notices that. But then during the service, they bring in, I'm thinking, an animal. I'm going to use the oracle chart to decide how big this creature is. Look, let's just go sheep. Let's just go sheep. They bring this creature in from the side. She's watching this, and they seem to be treating this animal fairly well. It's got some like sort of laurels in its hair or something like that. They bring it to the front, and then what they proceed to do is quite violent and quite upsetting to Gehena as she watches. Okay, so obviously I could describe some sort of ritual involving this animal, and the what we rolled was violent, but I think I might stop there. I'm just going to describe Gehena's reaction to it. As she watches this ceremony take place, it is violent. It does not seem that the animal is enjoying this experience. In fact, it seems afraid, it seems in pain as this ritual is played out. Okay, so it's horrible. It's violent, it's shocking to her. And she just can't believe what she's seeing. She begins to figure out, and she kind of wants to look away and vomit, but she begins to figure out what they're doing here is they're trying to find the truth in some way. They've gotten some entrails or essence or something gross from this animal, and specifically it had to be a horrible way of this animal dying for this to work. And they put out these entrails and they begin to move through them, and they're trying to divine some form of truth. All the while the chanting has continued. People in the congregation don't seem too non-fussed about all this. Certainly the older ones aren't. Some of the younger ones are still kind of like, Mummy, I don't like it. But it is their tradition, it's the way they do this. And then something happens where basically one of these sort of priesty type figures murmurs and then steps forward with some sort of innard from this sheep, and they bring it towards this sort of space where clearly it's designed for this person to speak to the group. Everyone in the congregation, they sort of wake some people awake because some people are dozing off, and they also pay attention to hear what has been divined. So we're going to roll action and theme. So as this priest comes up the front, he speaks in a very serious voice, one that can be heard from the back, so he knows his job. He's making sure that everyone can hear him, and he speaks in terms that seem at the same both flowery but authoritative at the same time. He has the innards in front of him. He places it maybe in a little dish that's designed to sort of show everybody this little thing. His hands have got blood on it, and he begins to speak. And I won't go into a full sermon because I can't think of one off the top of my head, but basically he begins to reiterate a very important message that has been divined today. For all to do well, for all to be profitable, for all to be good and right as determined by... What's the name of this deity? Firstly, is it Abba? We're going to say it's polytheistic, so we're just going to say unlikely. No, it's not. Their name. In order to do well, in order for life to thrive, Albane the Desolate has decreed that we in this time must share peace. Share peace. There's a murmur through the crowd. I'm assuming, considering there's been a mob in the streets, there has been an attack on a human settlement in the wilds, in the wild wood where Gehena has come from, that this idea of sharing peace sends a bit of a murmur through the group of people. They all don't quite know what to make of that. The priest would probably read the room. Does he know what to say? I'm going to say likely. Yes, he does. For him, the suggestion that he makes, do not be troubled, do not be concerned. I know that these words seem like a resounding bell in the darkness of our despair, but hear me. If you protect your religion, if you come unto together and remember the words of the great Albane the Desolate, you will find the strength to share your peace with those who require it. A little self-serving, let's be honest. But what does Gehena do? What does Gehena do? She is wise. She is strong. She has heart. What does someone do with that kind of setup? I think another factor is that she's desperate as well. Maybe this is her chance. Gehena props herself off of the wall that she's been leaning on to watch this. She confidently strides down the sort of central aisle, of this religious building. I'm going to say that basically everyone's they're facing that way, but all the pews are like this, so they're all looking this way. So as she comes down though, they all look to the center and they see her coming up the center. Everyone's a bit shocked. We're going to talk like, who's this? Like, firstly, it's shocking that someone would do this action at this stage in the ceremony, not in a this is sacrilegious kind of way, just that's not what they expect. They look to see if they recognize her. They don't, which is even more shocking. They sort of begin the whispers and the gossip. Who's this? And slowly someone start looking at her face going, is she? At this point, Gehena takes her mourning shawl that she's had over her head and she lowers it, revealing her elf ears. Her other facial features are enough to give her away to some extent, but now everyone can see very clearly that she is indeed an elf. Oh, shoot. Oh, what are we doing? Everyone's now all just chatting, who's this? And there's a few people starting to get up and raise their voices. They're not shouting at her, they're not shouting what's going on, but they are like talking to the person. How could this be happening? Everyone's starting to get worked up. At the front of the building, I'm going to say that sort of some of there's the priest and there's these sort of helpers, whatever we're going to call them, deacons or whatever, I don't know. They start sort of moving in. They're not going for her, but basically they are coming closer to this holy space, and if she goes beyond, then they'll stop her. She sees this, so she keeps going, but she before she gets to the end of this sort of little aisle between all these different pews, she sort of stops and she turns to face everyone. She briefly eyes everyone to make sure that everyone is indeed looking her way, but then she turns to speak to this high priest dude. In a clear and resounding voice, she says, "Most eminent holiness, as it is clear to all, I am an elf. But what should also be clear is I am in mourning, for my loss is great. I have lost my husband. I have lost my home, and I have lost it in this conflict that so many of you will have heard of. In the great wilds, there has been war, there has been conflict, there has been destruction, and I, and what is left of my family, of Ironlanders, have been the victims of that conflict. Great High Priest, hear me. If there is anyone in this town who needs their share of peace, it is I, and it is my mother, the Ironlander Naomi. We need your peace now. We do not ask for your charity. We do not ask that you give and give without measure. I only ask that we can help you. But we cannot unless the great desolate one's words come true. And that is, we receive our share of peace. I lay the life of myself and my mother in your good hands." And as she says this, obviously it's a very clear comment to this high priest chap, but he is an important figure in this town. He's got a lot of influence. It really is to everyone that she makes this plea. So she's trying to compel. We're going to say she's compelling with heart, because she's trying to be really earnest and clear with all this. I'm tempted to say wisdom, because she's specifically using these words, right? But no, it's probably more heart. She's trying to tug on their heartstrings. However, she is piggybacking off of the comments that was made, the share of peace that was said to everyone. And the idea of protecting the religion, she's laid herself at his feet. So I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to add to my heart an extra 1. So we can just add 3 to our roll with a compel roll. Let's see if it works. It is a weak hit. It is a 5 against a 4 and a 9. My child, come forward. Everyone again is a bit of a stir. The deacons there looking at each other like, what? This is not normal. But Gehena does what she says. She makes sort of a straight, confident, but respectful approach towards this high priest, who again is in sort of like a big sort of lectern thing where everyone can hear her. She comes to the bottom of that. She doesn't go up the top, obviously. She comes right down under there, sort of acting like, oh, look at me, I'm being submissive, And he continues, my child, you have truly suffered much, and it would be my honor to extend my share of peace to you. Everyone again is shocked, everyone's looking around, and Gehena's sitting there going, yes, thank goodness. But my daughter, you must understand that your people have exacted such terrors to the good folk here. So many of them have lost family and friends to the raids of your kind. You are not responsible for these raids, but we must see your quality. We must see together that you will indeed protect this faith of ours. Will you do this, my child? Most eminent holiness, I seek nothing but to defend what is left of my family. And if in your great wisdom I must do more to do that, I shall willingly submit to your wisdom. Lots of groveling. But what does he want her to do? So we're going to roll on the settlement in trouble to give us a bit of an idea of what it is they might ask her to do. Oh, okay. That's why everyone's here on a Thursday. Got an idea, but I'm going to roll on a few more tables to help figure out some more details on locations. My child, by fate you have been brought here, perhaps as a remedy for the vicious fate that now faces our kin to the north. For you see, a great accident has occurred. In the cliffs of Raven's Rest, between the mighty mountains that divide the havens from the hinterland, we were creating a pass, carved through the very rock of these hills. But perhaps we pushed too hard, for as our strong and youthful were creating a course for our traders to head north, the rocks gave way and an avalanche fell on many. And now many are up there trying to find amongst the rubble and the ruin survivors, anyone who might be alive in amongst this terrible accident. Hear me, elf girl. Go to the north. Go to the north and do what you can to save lives. If you do this, there is no one in this town who will not help you. So I rolled most of those details. So basically, I got a bit of an idea, and we'll flesh it out a bit more as we go. Essentially, an accident has occurred. And according to the tables, those accidents occurred at a pass. So I'm thinking like, not mountains, but these big hills, very rough hills, lots of forest on them, which prevents people in Elden Watch heading north into the hinterland where there is some settlements, trading. There is this sort of rocky landform between these hills. And the idea is they were trying to basically cut straight through that to create essentially a highway to the north so their trade can go back and forwards. There's been a rock slide, something has gone wrong, the whole thing's collapsed, and now they're asking her, Gehena, to help in some way. This random elf girl to help. We'll see if we can do that. People in the pews, they're looking back and forwards, they don't know what to make of this. Again, this is a disaster that just happened. That's why this vigil is here in the first place. They've all gathered because they're all kind of concerned about those in the north who have been caught up in this. So they're all there to basically try and hear from, what's his name, Albion the Desolate, that's a great name, to find out what they can do about this disaster. And here's this random elf who's come into this meeting demanding help, and now the high priest has given her this job. So Gehena is hearing all this hubbub, and so basically she acts. She raises her hand in the air, and on her finger is still the iron band that she swore fealty to her late husband on. People of Eldenwatch, I swear to you, I will head north, and I will do all that I can to preserve life in the disaster at Waven's Rest. So she swears this dangerous quest. Does she know what to do? The oath she swears is a weak one. As she looks around the room, she sees that a lot of doubt are in people's eyes, and you can't help but have that doubt enter into your own being. But she now has a fixed goal. She's going north. She's going to try and protect, save, serve people. She's got some abilities and sort of as a medic type person, so maybe she can do that. Naomi's safe at the inn, she thinks, she's pretty confident. So she might be able to do this. So she blocks out those doubting eyes. She stands there. She looks to the high priest. He looks down and says, "Well done, my child. I know you shall do well." So that's enough for tonight, I think. And we've now got a whole bunch of quests lined up. We've got ourselves trying to pay off the innkeeper, trying to get somewhere safe for Naomi, and now this disaster at Raven's Rest. We need to get some of this ticked off because I haven't really made any progress on any of these things. But we're going to focus now on this Raven's Rest one. We're going to have that be our main drive next time I film one of these things to actually try and make it happen. I've said it dangerous because we just need to get going, basically. But yeah, so Gehena, she has, I did not see this coming, but we have a path forwards. If she can go north and help in this disaster, she may indeed find a way to maybe not only pay for the week, but potentially find a new home for her and Naomi. But we can only see. With Naomi will be safe here. I guess things are looking better, but what I can't shake from my mind is that she prayed to Abba and she heard nothing. So what's going on? Anyway, we'll find out more later. Thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and I hope you will see me again in the future. Goodbye.